Hi, you guys. If you're a fan of anything lemon, you have got to try this gluten-free lemon meringue pie. It's not like those old-timey lemon meringue pies that are jiggly and wiggly and to me nasty. It is made with a thick lemon curd that is out of this world. And of course, it has meringue on top, but this meringue is Swiss meringue, so it's more like marshmallow and it gets all toasty. And of course, it has my flaky, all butter, gluten free pie crust. To die for, you guys. Let's get started. I'm not going to bother showing you how I made the pie crust because that's another video, and I'll put a link for that up above, all about how to make my famous flaky all butter gluten-free pie crust. This is like no other gluten-free pie crust you will ever have. It's so easy to work with. As you can see, I just picked it up with my hands and put it in the pie plate. And now I am making sure it's nice and secure in there because you don't want to stretch it. You want to kind of fold it into and just let it drop into naturally into the pie plate. And make sure you get into those corners or you're not going to get a good spot for filling. So just make sure you take your time and get into the corners there at the bottom so that you have plenty of room for all that filling. And now I'm just going around and folding the edges underneath so I have a nice rim around the pie that I can then crimp like this. You can do any design you want. I just like this crimping because it's kind of old-fashioned, and I feel like a lemon meringue pie is very old-fashioned, so that's what I chose. So go around the whole pie like this, and once you've got that done, stick this in the fridge for at least an hour. You want to get it nice and cold before you blind bake it. So this is nice and cold, and it makes it easier to put the foil in without ruining your beautiful crust work there. So I like to use foil. You can also use parchment. I feel like the foil holds its shape better and gets into all the corners. Now here's a new trick that I learned, and that is putting sugar in the middle to weigh it down. You can use rice, you can use beans. I've used those all my life pretty much. But with sugar, you can really get it into the corners, and what happens is it kind of gets that caramelized flavor to it without letting it melt. And it is, you can use it again, excuse me, and it is absolutely perfect. So we get this in a 375-degree oven for about 20 minutes or until the crust is nice and brown around the edges, just like this. And we're going to remove the sugar, and you can, like I said, use that later, put it back in your canister. It'll be fine. Just wait for it to cool down completely. But as you can see, the bottom and the sides still need some cooking. So put it back in for another 15 minutes and it'll be nicely browned all around. So let that cool and we'll get on to the filling. So I have some sugar, cornstarch, and salt. And we're going to add our freshly squeezed lemon juice to this. Now, in retrospect, I would have whisked up the sugar and the cornstarch first. Makes it easier to combine with all the rest of the ingredients, but just go ahead. It doesn't matter. It still comes out fine. It's just a little harder to get it whisked in properly. So once we have all of those nicely whisked, we'll add some water. And when I was redoing this video, I realized I cut out myself adding the water in. But just know that's part of the recipe. So in the meantime, get your egg yolks whisked together on their own in a large bowl and then set them aside, waiting for this mixture to come to a near boil. You don't want it really boiling. You just want it to come up almost to a simmer, just as you would almost like scalded milk, where there are bubbles coming around the corner or around the edges. And once that's done, we're going to slowly stream in that sugar mixture while we whisk constantly the egg yolks. And once you get it a good, quarter amount of the mixture into the egg yolks, then you can start streaming it in a little faster than that. And this is just tempering so the egg yolks aren't really cold and get scrambled by the hot liquid. And then we'll pour all of this back into the pot and get it back on the stove over medium-low heat. And we'll just whisk this up until it is nice and thick. This whole process takes about 15 minutes or so. You just need to, once it comes to a boil and you start to see the bubbles like burp up, whisk it for 1 minute more, and that will activate the cornstarch. Excuse me. Now I'm adding lemon zest off the heat. And then I'll start adding in the butter, 1 chunk at a time, and whisk that in, and that helps to cool it pretty rapidly. This is cold cubed butter. This filling is just unreal, you guys. It's nothing like, I absolutely could not stand lemon meringue pie before because it was really jiggly and wiggly like Jello. And not that I have anything against Jello, I just didn't like it in a pie like that. Ugh, it was nasty. But this stuff is so good. So we pour it into the pie shell that's been cooled, and we put plastic right on the surface of it, and I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for 30 minutes like that, and then we'll refrigerate it overnight preferably. So now we'll make the meringue, and I have egg whites along with sugar, salt, and a little bit of cream of tartar. And this is over a double boiler, which is just a smaller pot with about 1 inch of water on the bottom. And I have this in my stand mixer bowl. You could also do this by hand. It'll just take longer with like a hand mixer. And go ahead and whisk these ingredients together. Now, I have cut out this for the sake of this video, but it takes a good 15 minutes or so. And once you reach at least 140, I have 152 on here, and it is opaque in color. And also, if you were to rub a little bit of the mixture between your thumb and forefinger, it would be nice and smooth, and you wouldn't feel any sugar granules. Then you know it's done. But you need to cook that long enough to make the egg whites safe enough to eat, because they will not be cooked any further. And then we get it on the mixer and just whisk it on high until it's nice and light and fluffy, just like marshmallow meringue. It is beautiful. I love meringue. And you've got nice stiff peaks like this. Oh, I just love meringue. It is so good, you guys, just like marshmallow. So get your pie out of the fridge and take off the plastic wrap. And then we're going to pile our meringue on top. You could also put this in a piping bag and pipe it. I was just going for more of an organic feel to this pie, but do what you'd like. I'm just dolloping it on. Now, in retrospect, I would probably double the meringue portion of this recipe, because that's how much I love the meringue on top of a pie. I love a good like 1-to-1 filling to meringue ratio. But you do you. This recipe with the 5 egg whites will work perfectly fine, as you can see. Now I'm just taking a large spoon and kind of swirling it about, just haphazardly with no care of what it looks like. I just wanted it to be organic. And now I'm taking my blowtorch and torching the meringue, toasting it up. If you don't have a kitchen blowtorch, I will leave a link for this blowtorch below. They are really rather cheap, but if you don't want to buy one, you can put this pie under the broiler. Just keep a very close eye on it, because you don't want the edges of the pie crust to burn. I just love a good toasted marshmallow topping. And once you are done with this, you can serve the pie right away. And let me tell you, if you don't like, or if you don't think you like lemon meringue pie, try this gluten-free lemon meringue pie. I think it will convert you. It converted my husband. He did not like lemon meringue pie. And honestly, neither did I, really, because I don't like those old fashioned jiggly wiggly ones. But this one, delicious. Enjoy.